Hey everybody, this is Tony, Tainted Lord A7, and here's part 20 of my CD collection. So let's go straight to it. The first three CDs are from the same band. The first one being Cannabis Corpse, From Wisdom to Baked. Cannabis Corpse, Left Hand Pass. And Cannabis Corpse, Nug So Vile. Yeah, Cannabis Corpse are a death metal band that loves to poke fun at other famous death metal albums and their titles, but at the same time, they're not like a parody band. They are like their own. They got their own sound, their own death metal sound. It's just they love to poke fun at other death metal bands and the album titles, but still, they're a really fun band. So definitely check out Cannabis Corpse. Okay, next up is Caucus, Surgical Steel, a really awesome comeback album from this death grind, gore grind legend that was released back in 2013. Yeah, 2013. Still a great album 10 years later. So, yeah, Caucus, Surgical Steel. And Caucus, Symphonies of Sickness. This is a gore grind, death grind classic from 1989, but the one I got is the 1994 reissue with a censored album cover. At least the censored album cover kind of fits with the theme with Caucus. If you listen to Caucus, you will know pretty much what they're singing or growling about. So I think the censored album cover kind of fits with the theme of what Caucus has in their lyrics or something like that. But yeah, Caucus, Symphonies of Sickness. Next up is Cattle Decapitation, Monolith of Inhumanity. Monolith of Inhumanity by Cattle Decapitation. Some awesome death grind from Cattle Decapitation. Very solid album. And Cattle Decapitation, the Anthropocene Extinction. And again, another solid death grind album from Cattle Decapitation. The Anthropocene Extinction is, in my opinion, a really good follow-up to Monolith of Inhumanity. I'm not like a huge gigantic fan of Cattle Decapitation, but they are an enjoyable band. So yeah, there's that. Okay, next up is all my Cradle of Filth albums. I don't have everything from Cradle of Filth, but they're like one of the first extreme metal bands that I've gotten into, and I still really enjoy their music to this day. The first one being Cradle of Filth, Cruelty and the Beast, a very awesome album. Next up is Cradle of Filth, Cryptoriana, the seductiveness of decay. A very solid album from Cradle of Filth. Um, yeah, just a really solid album. I really like this one. So yeah, Cradle of Filth, Cryptoriana, the seductiveness of decay. Next up is Cradle of Filth, Damnation and a Day. This is a pretty good album, but I feel like that this album was a little bit rushed. I feel like they had so much going on, but they just didn't have enough time to Um, didn't have enough time to let it sink in because I think the label that this album was released on was pushing them to release it as soon as possible. So because of it, it sounds a little bit rushed. But I think this is a still pretty good album by Cradle Filth. So yeah, it's good for what it is. Damnation a Day by Cradle Filth. Next up is Dusk and Her Embrace by Cradle Filth. This is definitely like top 3 Cradle Filth albums right here. This is just a solid album. A really good mix of black metal with a little bit of death metal at times, and maybe a little bit of gothic metal as well. But yeah, this is just classic Cradle Filth. So yeah, Dusk and Her Embrace by Cradle Filth. Next up is Cradle Filth, Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder. Yeah, Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder by Cradle Filth. Another very solid Cradle Filth album. Definitely has a more heavy metal, gothic metal sound, but it's just solid. Really like this one. Next up is Cradle Filth, Hammer of the Witches. This is definitely a very solid album. I feel like they returned to their roots a bit after the last couple of releases. Was it like up to par? But this is definitely a return to form in my opinion. Hammer of the Witches by Cradle Filth is just excellent. Next up is Cradle Filth, Midian. This is probably probably my all-time favorite Cradle Filth album because this is the album that really introduced me to the band. Mostly because of the single Her Ghost in the Fog off this album. But overall, this is just some awesome, flawless, classic Cradle Filth and just one of my favorite albums ever. So yeah, Midian by Cradle Filth, super solid album. Love it. Next up is Cradle Filth, Damnation a Day. Another solid Cradle Filth album. Definitely has a more gothic metal sound, but it's just a solid album. I'm not saying that it's entirely gothic metal, but you can totally hear the gothic metal influences on this album. But still, this is a really good extreme metal album. So yeah, Cradle Filth, Nymphetamine. If I didn't say that way, this is Cradle Filth, Nymphetamine. So yeah, that's what I meant to say. Cradle Filth, Nymphetamine. Next up is Cradle Filth, the Manticore, and Other Horrors. This was an alright album. I wouldn't say it was like the most amazing album Cradle Filth has ever released, but for what it is a solid album. It's just not absolutely mind blowing. It's a good above average Cradle Filth album. But yeah, Cradle Filth, The Manticore, and Other Horrors, a pretty decent album. I enjoyed it. Next up is Cradle Filth, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh. Classic, flawless Cradle Filth album. This is probably as close to Cradle Filth being full-blown black metal you're ever going to hear. Just absolutely maniacal and chaotic, but so damn good. So yeah, Cradle Filth, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh, very flawless album. And the last Cradle Filth album that I have is Phonography by Cradle Filth. Yeah, this album is it's a bit of a mediocre album. Kind of definitely definitely feel like they were appealing to more of a radio friendly sound, but for what it is, it's still decent. It's more heavy metal sounding, and I just feel like this album is just trying to appeal to a more um brighter audience or something. Just feels a bit mediocre, but still decent for what it is. So yeah, Cradle Filth, Phonography, decent album, not bad. Okay, the next band I'm going to show off is Corrosion of Conformity. Yeah, Corrosion of Conformity, and the album Blind. Some great southern metal, heavy metal, just heavy and riff driven, and it's just superb. Absolutely amazing. So, yeah, Corrosion of Conformity, Blind, very, very solid album. Next up is Corrosion of Conformity, Deliverance. Another very solid album from Corrosion of Conformity. I don't listen to Deliverance as much as I should have, but from what I've heard, it's still a solid album. I really need to listen to more of this, but I enjoyed it. I like it. So yeah, Corrosion of Conformity, Deliverance. And the last Corrosion of Conformity album that I have is Wise Blood. Wise Blood is another solid Corrosion of Conformity album. Um, yeah, if you're into like southern metal, heavy metal, from the mid '90s, Corrosion of Conformity's Wise Blood is a fantastic release and an album to check out. The next band is Crowball and the album Equilibrium, a very heavy, slow, droning sludge metal album that just crushes your soul with its heavy riffs. A fantastic release. So, yeah, Crowball, Equilibrium. Crowball, Sever the Wicked Hand. Again, another crushing release from Crowball. Heavy and just heavy and absolutely crushing. Really good stuff. So yeah, Crowball, Sever the Wicked Hand. Really great album. Next up is Crowball, Symmetry in Black. Again, another fantastic release from Crowball. They're a band that doesn't really change the sound too much. If you're into some crushing, slow, sludge metal, Crowball will get you covered. And Symmetry in Black is another solid album in their discography. So, yeah, Crowball, Symmetry in Black. And the last and the last Crowball album that I have is The Serpent Only Lies. Again, another excellent album from Crowball. From the albums I've heard, this is just a solid, consistent band. So, yeah, The Serpent Only Lies by Crowball. Okay, the last four CDs are from the same band. The first one being Darkest Hour and their self-titled album. Um, a decent, a decent melodic death metal album that's very melodic and and it's pretty good for what it is. I don't think it'll beat out the older material, but for maybe for newbies who wants to know what Darkest Hour sounds like, this album would be a great starting point in my opinion. So yeah, the self-titled album from Darkest Hour, a pretty good album. Next up is Darkest Hour, Godless Prophets, and the Migrant Flora. A very heavy, vicious, melodic death metal album right here, in my opinion. This is just, like I said, heavy and vicious and very riff driven with some very angry yells and vocals that really fits with the music, in my personal opinion. So yeah, Godless Prophets and the Migrant Flora by Darkest Hour is just a fantastic release. Great album. Next up is Darkest Hour. Yeah, Darkest Hour, Hidden Hands of Sadist Nation. Very heavy, um, just heavy thrashing, just the kind of melodic death metal that just wants to beat the crap out of you musically. It's fast, it's heavy, it's brutal. It just it just accelerates in everything. Just one of the heaviest releases that Darkest Hour has ever released, in my personal opinion. So yeah, Darkest Hour, Hidden Hands of a Sadist Nation, definitely one of the best albums in their discography, in my opinion. And the last CD I'm going to show off in this CD collection is Darkest Hour, The Mark of the Judas. Um, yeah, another fantastic release from Darkest Hour. The early stuff of the early stuff of Darkest Hour is just so raw and primitive and angry, melodic death metal. And this, yeah, this is it. Just melodic death metal, just melodic death metal in its raw, primitive, and brutal form. And Darkest Hour just achieved it on this one. So definitely one of the best albums in my opinion. So yeah, Darkest Hour, The Mark of the Judas, fantastic release. And that's it, everyone. That's part 20 of my CD collection. Look forward to part 21 of my CD collection when that happens. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. See you next time.